Hello everyone, my name's Stephen Redman and welcome to Pastor's Library. This is the channel where we discuss everything to do with theology books, books that might be on a reading list for your seminary course or your university course, bachelor's or master's degree in biblical studies or in theology, or perhaps just books that have piqued your interest. You've seen them on a shelf, you've seen them on the Amazon website, and you're still considering them. Well, this is where we try to help you through. If you like what we have to say today, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Please subscribe, please click on the bell, because that all helps the algorithm and it helps us gain momentum and reach more people who will find this helpful. So today we're going to talk about a series of commentaries, a fairly old series of commentaries, a series of commentaries that people have asked me what I think about them. The truth is, I've never gone near them really, because new copies were astronomically expensive, typically 80, 100, 120 pounds per volume, and that just seemed to me to be a lot of money to pay, particularly if you didn't really know what they were about. So as the sort of questions have kept coming in on this subject, I thought I should pick up a few second-hand copies and see what I could find. And very fortunately, I managed to find, I think maybe 8 or 9 copies that were reasonably priced. By reasonably, I mean anything from £5 to £20. I think I may have paid £30 for one. But basically, if you look around for them, they are available. And I am told that you will often see them in second-hand bookshops in the USA. It's not quite so easy to get them in the UK. And I am talking about the ICC, the International Critical Commentary. Now, some people are always put off by the word critical, sometimes because they believe it means the author is of a liberal persuasion and is critical of the text, in the sense that they may be critical of believing that it's true. That isn't always the case. For example, the Hermeneia range of commentaries, you will find the word critical in their description, but they're more critical about the interpretation rather than they are critical about what is on the page. Having said that, I have to say that because these ICC commentaries are in the main quite elderly, they are more from a time in which the liberals ruled theology colleges, universities, and from a time in which the Bible had less standing as a believable source. So let's just try one or two of these and see how we go. Romans was the one that was particularly pointed out to me, and Romans comes in 2 volumes. I've managed to get a paperback and a hardback. There are a lot of pages in these two, but I would have to say to you that I didn't find myself engaging with either of them. They're written by a man called C.E.B. Cranfield. They were first published in 1979, which isn't that long ago, although it's out of the range for quotation at most universities. But this is actually a worthwhile product, in that I did find that Cranfield had something to say. What I was rather taken aback with was that they've published a shorter commentary, which is the contents of volumes 1 and 2 condensed. And whereas there is still some evidence of liberal thinking, I would suggest to you this is of a better standard than the 2 outstanding volumes. So 1979, first published. 2001 is the last time I'm aware that it's been republished. So people are still buying these, even though the hardbacks are incredibly expensive. The softbacks are much more affordable. This shorter commentary, I think I got mine for £28, which didn't seem to be expensive for a brand new commentary. And what I would say to you is I wouldn't put this anywhere near some of the modern commentaries for its quality of academia, its quality of exegesis. You know, people say, oh, these old commentaries are great. I do not in general find that to be remotely true. And I think that commentaries that come out of that period, particularly the first half of the 20th century, do tend to have a lot of liberal views in them. For example, I got a great copy of St Matthew by a man called Allen, which was first published in 1901. Mine was published in 2000. And what I would say is this is just critical of everything. I mean, for example, if you look at the last page, it talks about Matthew 28:20, you know, go into all the world, preach the gospel to every living creature, and lo, I'm with you always to the end of the world. You know that verse. And basically, all its comments amount to are, if this was a later edition by someone else other than Matthew, it says what it says on the page, or words to the effect of that. And you think, have you not got anything to say about this? Something which some Christians over the years have referred to as capital THE, promise. The promise of Jesus. I am with you always. Now, look, I understand critical considerations of the scriptures. I understand that there are some things we have to prove academically. I recognise all these things, but it does me no good at all to read a commentary from someone who has nothing to say on the promise. I don't get that at all. Whereas I can say, I have got a few of these on my shelf now. So I've got Matthew, I've got Mark, I've got Hebrews, I've got 1 Corinthians, I've got the John epistles, and obviously I've got all the Roman stuff, I've got Ephesians, I've got the first half of John's Gospel. These are good, they have value, but I would suggest to you not quite what you would expect. The Hebrews one I did find very interesting. Now, this one is written by James Moffatt. Yes, the author of the Moffatt translation. And whereas there are better translations, Moffatt's translation still has something to offer. And according to mine, it was first published in 1924. Now, clearly, biblical exegesis, the academics of theology have developed a lot in the last 100 years. But what I would say to you is Moffatt does have something to say about Hebrews, which is worthwhile. And I picked this up in very excellent condition for £20, including delivery. And that's one of the most expensive of these that I've had to buy. And I only spent that because it had James Moffatt's name on it. And I would say to you, this is worthwhile. Is it anywhere near as good as the latest commentary that I've just bought by an old lecturer of mine? No, it is not in the same league. It simply isn't. James Moffatt, great guy, said some great things, worthwhile looking through. Is this up to the standard of a modern academic, well-researched book with a great bibliography? Well, no, this isn't up to that standard. And I suppose what I'm saying to you is I found this James Moffatt one of the best that I've looked at. So, there are just a couple that I think are worth saying something better about. 1 Corinthians, which is by James Dunn. Now that's a worthwhile volume. That is definitely one I would include in my research. But first published in 1998, Ephesians by E. Best. That's quite a good one. When I say quite a good one, the research in it appears to be of the standard that you would expect from a good commentary. I think that this is still not up in the standard of, say, the New International Commentary on the New Testament, or the New International Greek Testament Commentary, or the Word Biblical Commentary, or even the New Beacon Bible Commentary. But it is still worthwhile. And I have to say that this 2004 printing in paperback of a 1998 original has a worthwhile bibliography. And I thought I was never going to find one in an ICC. You know, how can anybody claim a commentary is of a top standard if it doesn't have a good bibliography? Best does at least give us a good bibliography. I think the last one I want to really comment on is by John McHugh, which is a 2009 original. This is a 2014 paperback print. And this is a true modern technical commentary, academic in style. McHugh apparently is a bit of a legend in his treatment of Greek punctuation and grammar. And I have to say, when you read through this, it's obvious that this is a man who is very careful about his punctuation and grammar of Greek. And so actually, I found this probably to be the one that I like the most. A, it's up to date. B, the bibliography is good. In fact, it's actually very good. It has a great deal of worthwhile mentions, including Craig Keener's treatment of John, which I think that means it's definitely up to date. But like I say, I like his handling of the Greek. I like the way that it comes through very understandably. This book, which is, 324 pages, dealing with 4 chapters. That to me is a worthwhile investment. So John 1-4 by John F. McHugh, I would say is probably the best of them that I have seen. So what am I saying? ICC, is it, as I was told, the best commentary that all others are judged by? Frankly, that's a joke. It is nothing like the best commentary. Are there some very good ones? 1924 was it? James Moffatt. That's worthwhile. It's worth investigating. The much more modern late 90s for James Dunn, 1 Corinthians. That is a very good commentary. How could it not be? I mean, James Dunn is just really excellent. Names that I didn't know before, John McHugh. Yeah, that man has a good handle on John 1-4. But in the main, many of these commentaries are quite elderly, over 50 years, being very gracious. Some of them are over 100 years old. And they simply are not up to the academic standards that one normally anticipates when spending substantial amount of money for a new print on a commentary today. I'm not saying that these are all cheap books that you have to buy used. Most of these books are in print and at top end prices, and simply, I'm sorry, they're not worth that. I appreciate that I am speaking as a pastor, as a Bible believer, who's someone who is passionate about the integrity and truth of the scriptures. But I have no interest at all in reading the works of liberal theologians or people that have, to any major degree, been influenced by them. So that's all I have to say really today on the ICC, the International Critical Commentary. Like I say, it's nothing about the word critical that's putting me off. It's much more about the really lack of modern standards of academic rigour in them. And ultimately, that's something that is very important to all of us who are genuinely studying Scripture. So that's all I have to say. ICC, I wouldn't spend much on them if I were you. If you're interested and you find a Moffatt quite cheap, find a James Dunn, that's worth having. John McHugh's quite good. But really, there are better ranges of commentary that are newer and that are more rigorous. And with that, I will say goodbye until next time. Bye!